threat of disaster is never pleasant.
Welcome to the Casual Preppers podcast.
These safety measures are essential.
The only place for prepping, survival, and entertainment.
This will be your source of survival instructions and information. Every member of the family must be coached in the business of survival.
Here are your hosts, Cam and Kobe.
Oh, Cameron.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, we are excited today.
Mm-hmm. This one comes at a good time in my life.
It does, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very timely for you.
Yeah. I feel like this is a great one for everyone that's into outdoors, that's into guns, that's into vehicles and bugging out.
And it was just so much fun. Dude, it was so much fun to talk to. Who are we talking to today?
Yeah, so we are talking with Mike of Last Line of Defense.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike is a creator of Last Line of Defense, and it talks about, he does a lot of product testing. Mm-hmm. He's a prepper himself. He's a dad, and he also is really into overlanding. So he has a lot of info and good tips on, building that bug out vehicle that you've all wanted, that I've wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, he has some great information on like communication, on the gear to put on it, best thing to put, like mods for your vehicle. Great stuff. So I think you'll really like this episode.
This is like some really fantastic information. It was just fun too. It was just a really good conversation.
Yeah. He's easy to talk with. I feel like he's, one of us.
Yeah, he's one of us.
Group.
He is a casual prepper, just like you all. But before we get into that, I got to tell you about Rhino Ready. Pre-kitted bug-out bags are usually ill-equipped one-stop shops that lack the attention to detail of a custom loadout. Not the case over at Rhino Ready, the truest purveyors of kick-ass survival packs and gear badassery. Their founder, Michael, spent years designing a modular bug-out bag that combined critical survival supplies with performance build quality. After launching on Kickstarter, it took many sleepless nights tinkering on weight distribution, prototype testing, and in-person manufacturer visits to bring their products to life. They sell an absolute beast of a pack called the Companion, which you can get fully kitted, or you can just build out the pack however you see fit with your own gear. So whether it's to supplement your existing setup or a gift for a friend or a loved one, you really just can't go wrong. Enter our code CasualPreppers at rhinoready.com to take $100 off kitted companions, along with 25% off everything else in the store and free shipping to anywhere in the USA. That is Rhino Ready, RINO ready.com. Use our code CasualPreppers.
Do it.
That's great. All right, guys, it's time to enjoy Mike from Last Line of Defense. Welcome, guys. We are so stoked today because we have a fantastic guest, Cameron, don't we?
We do have an awesome guest.
Who do we have?
So we have Mike of Last Line of Defense, and he is the creator of Last Line of Defense, and he talks about products, and he's a preparedness guru. He also does firearms and overland. I mean, he's like the poster boy for prepping, in our opinion. I mean, he's he lives the life we want to live.
He's a poster boy for coolness. Like that's the whole thing. Like I want to be like Mike. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Man, appreciate you coming on.
Hey, thanks, guys. Flattery. I'm not that cool, but I think it is a good fit because I would consider myself, casual prepper for sure.
Yeah.
Not too much doom and gloom, but try to have fun with it.
That's beautiful. That's exactly what we're here trying to do.
I think it's pretty obvious on your channel. It just feels more relaxed and it's exciting, and people are just going to want to be you, just like we are.
Yeah, and so can you kind of tell the people who are listening, if they don't know who you are, who are you, what do you do, and why did we bring you on today?
Yeah, I don't know why you brought me on necessarily, but I'm really a pretty regular dude who felt like starting a YouTube channel a while back, I guess 8 or 9, maybe even 10 years ago, something like that, where I started a YouTube channel just to give tips to people from my real world experience, which again is a pretty regular guy, but I went through this like concealed carry journey and then preparedness journey, and I'm probably the thing I'm best at is researching and learning. So I did a ton of research. I learned a bunch. I took a lot of training courses and stuff. And then I just kind of taught people what I learned along the way. So I just put that into YouTube form, not ever with the intention of starting a YouTube channel or anything like that. Just, where can I put some long format rambling information for people that are new to something that it's hard to find information and maybe I can do a better job of. And I just kind of went down that route and gave people, again, originally concealed carry tips. And that kind of just evolved to one day I decided to show like my truck loadout, kind of my EDC loadout in my truck. And people loved it. And I was like, oh, maybe I'll start doing more of this stuff. And the channel has just kind of evolved as I have evolved through the years. So now it's just kind of showing the stuff I'm into, which at this current stage in my life is kind of like trying to be a little more self-reliant, build out a little homestead and do a lot of kind of off-roading and overlanding adventures.
Yeah, man, there's not a lot of YouTube channels that I follow regularly, but yours is one of them. And if somebody asks, like, I'm always like, you've got to go check this guy out. He has the coolest videos, but he's just super like unassuming and chill. And it's not like yelling at you. You know what I mean? You've got to get this. You got to get 2, 2, 3. You got blah, blah, blah. It's always like, hey, man, this is what I do. And it works for me. And I love that. I hate it when somebody's like preaching at me and I don't feel like I'm getting that with you. So that's why I like to continue to watch. Yeah. So thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And that's it. I'm glad that it comes off that way because I never want to try to sell someone on something. I've done ton of product testing. I've used a lot of gear and I'm happy to show you kind of what works for me. And if it works for you, cool. If not, that's fine too. Yeah. But it's a good place to, kind of start or maybe get to as far as gear wise, if you want to kind of follow and learn from my lessons through the years. So yeah.
Absolutely.
You do an awesome job too, and it's not like information overload.
Yeah.
Real simple, straightforward. It's good stuff.
So 5 questions. We've got 5 questions for you. We're really excited to have you here. Let's just get going. I'm going to start with question 1. This is the one that probably everybody's waiting for, but and I think you actually did a video similar to this question not too long ago, but I really want to get into some overlanding stuff. Recently, I actually bought a 2023 Tacoma, so I'm like primed and ready. Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, it's a big deal on the channel. Everybody's sick of hearing about it, but I do have it. But it just looks like it's so much fun, and it just seems like there's so much really good crossover from overlanding to preparedness, so like what kind of tips would you give or advice would you give a normal dude like me? Like I really don't know that much about it to dip my toes into the overlanding scene. Like the best approaches, best way to start, gear, skills, anything like that you can give to us would be so fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a huge and important crossover kind of between overlanding and, whether you want to compare that to bugging out, like a bug out rig or just being more self-reliant on longer trips or whatever. But to start out, I kind of say the same thing. And sorry, I'm a little congested. I think I'm a little sick or something. But
So good.
It's good. Congrats. But to start out, I would say like, don't go over the top. Like you don't need a rooftop 10 and this and 35-inch mud terrains and all this. If you have a Subaru Outback, that's great. If you have a Honda Civic, a little less great, but still you could kind of get out there and find a place that you can drive and bring a tent from Walmart and just kind of see if you enjoy that. Do you enjoy being out in nature? Mm-hmm. I was fortunate enough, like I didn't grow up with a survivalist dad or anything like that, but he took us camping, he took us fishing. So I spent a lot of time outside when I was younger. So I kind of knew I already liked it, but a lot of people maybe didn't have that experience. So I would say where to start is first see if you even like it. See if you get out there and you're like, I hate pissing in the woods, which is rare for a man, but a woman oftentimes hates pissing in the woods. For sure. So I would say like before you just spend a ton of money trying to build up a crazy rig, first see if you actually like it. And then from there, you kind of build up the gear. You go out maybe with a blow up mattress and a cheap tent. And then you're like, man, my back is on fire. I could not sleep in that. Let me try and find, maybe a trifold mattress. Anyway, you kind of build up from there. You get a cheap stove and you're like, that had a lot of downfalls. Let me get this other stove that has this certain feature. Maybe I'll try to bring a griddle, or maybe I won't bring a stove at all. I'll just make a sandwich ahead of time and bring that out. So I would say, just the concept of not having to go out and buy everything and just kind of build up what you actually need. Because even if you look at me, again, I've had years of refinement of my kit and my gear through the years, but what I have might not be an ideal setup for you. Right. Everyone's kind of different. Everyone lives in different places. Like, you certainly don't need my truck if you live in Florida, where there's 200 feet of elevation gains. So some of that is specific to where you live, and some of it is going to be specific to your family, and some of it is going to be specific if you're going out with other people. If you have friends that have limitations in their vehicles, but you really want to go out with them, don't build up a crazy rig if all they have is a Subaru Impreza. Like, there's going to be a disconnect there. So I would say it's kind of a personal journey, but to your earlier point, it is a great way to kind of justify preparedness related purchases, right? This is another thing I talk about on my channel, which is like, yeah, you have some people that are just into prepping. Like, that is my hobby, preparedness. Yeah. It's not my hobby at all. Like, preparedness isn't really my hobby. My hobby is like growing food and raising chickens and shooting guns and self-defense and overlanding and like a lot of aspects that have direct kind of preparedness overlap, I guess. So as it pertains to, as it pertains to overlanding, yeah, it's a great opportunity to build a bug out rig and test it and refine it. It's a great opportunity to get some ways to cook meals or build fires out in the woods. It's a great opportunity to this is another aspect I talk about on the channel, build a really dope prepared daily driver. Yeah. Because fuel economy aside, there's a lot of good reasons to have a relatively built Tacoma, for instance, as a daily driver. There's a lot of real life scenarios where you're like, well, 4-wheel drive really came in clutch here. Yeah. Or having a bumper where I could just push some stuff out of the way to get out really came in handy. Having some beefier tires that could give me traction to get up, through the median and now, turn around and get back home really comes in handy. So I think there's a huge valuable overlap between kind of overland rigs and true preparedness.
Yeah, man, I love that. And that's the thing. What I'm trying to do is figure out the best way to. So like my Tacoma, it's my daily driver, and it's something that I want it to stay comfortable for everyday driving to and from work. I want my wife to be able to drive it without any issues and not feeling like, this is a crazy rig. I just want it to feel, and I want the, as good as the gas mileage is, I want it to stay as good as I can. So I'm trying to figure out how do I approach this is keeping it all of those things, this daily driver, this kind of overlanding rig, but also it is something that's great for bugging out when that does happen. It's a great rig for that. So, I've been watching your channel religiously trying to figure out how do I approach this? Yeah. You know what I mean?
I have a 73 F-150 and I've been trying to talk my wife into letting me get like a Tacoma just because the more modern, more comfortable, because we go in that. And I'm like, yeah, this is my bug out vehicle, but it sucks putting my 3 boys, my wife, and I in that. And it's not a double cab or anything. So it's like.
And it's a loud sucker.
It's just like poor gas mileage. It looks cool, but it's not practical at all. So that's what I like about the stuff that you show is just kind of like it can go both ways. Like you can use it every day and, you're ready to go off road if you need to.
Absolutely. And I think that's kind of the sweet spot. Having a daily driver that still retains most of the daily driver functionality and practicality, but can handle, getting you out of a situation or getting you back into the backcountry a little easier than something that is completely stock. And I don't know if you asked necessarily, but the best play, like the first modification I always say is get some better tires, honestly. So the tires that come from factory, they'll probably get you the best fuel economy, not going to lie, but they're not going to be the most durable. They're not going to give you the most traction in a variety of kind of driving terrains. So tires is definitely the first upgrade. And even just swapping tires will make your vehicle, any vehicle, a lot more capable off-road than it is on-road. But there's a lot of other stuff like gear carrying ability, for instance. Like a truck is great, obviously. You can throw, you're like, oh man, an EMP just launched. I need to hit a Costco run and get as much rice or whatever,
Yeah.
Like there's no better vehicle to transport a lot of gear than a truck. A Tacoma's a small truck, obviously, but it's going to be able to transport a lot of gear. And then you could add a roof rack on top of that, for instance, and expand your gear carrying capability even more. So there's a lot of stuff you can do to kind of like, I don't know. And the other thing is it kind of like helps justify these purchases if you take the family camping.
Yes.
So it's not just like, I'm buying a bug out rig and the end of the world probably isn't even going to happen. So this is just like a completely theoretical waste of money. But if you go camping once a month with the family, it's much more justifiable, these mods.
I'm so excited just to have my wife listen to this episode.
I know. And that's the thing, too, I'm trying to figure out is like, I really want my wife to come with me. So I've got to make it as comfortable as I can for her, right?
Absolutely.
Like, I'm pretty easygoing. Like, if I had to sleep in the back, I'll be fine. But, like, man, I've got to get to a point where she's like, okay, I'll come because I know I have these conveniences, as we're camping. So it's like I'm trying to figure that out as well. So man, there's just a lot of stuff, man.
There's a ton.
Super important though. Super important for those of you with families and with wives especially, or it could be flipped. Maybe the wife is super rugged and the husband's not. But you got to make it comfortable for the other person. Because I'm the same way. You take me out, I'll sleep on the ground and have a good time. Like, it'll be fun. But my wife, not so much. She's like, oh, especially if we're out with other people, it'd be nice if I had a place to pee. And it'd be nice, have, be able to wash my hands and stuff. And I'm like, rather than just being like, oh, toughen up, you got to really kind of cater to them because otherwise they're going to hate it. So if you make it more enjoyable for them, they're going to get more excited about it. This is kind of obvious stuff, but they're going to get more excited about it. And then they're going to be more willing or interested or maybe even want to go more if they're like, oh yeah, that was a great experience. So kind of any concerns that they have, like, where am I going to pee? We'll just get a bucket and, they sell like porta potty, basically bucket lid thing. You can get a little enclosure that pops up in 30 seconds so they can have total privacy. There's a lot of easy ways to make it kind of a lot more comfortable for people that don't love that stuff.
Yeah, man, it's so true. And then you actually did a video recently about like kind of the, a single, case where you just have all your stuff for, I love your Weekender Lander videos, and it's like, I love that idea of having like one case that pretty much has everything in it. You throw it in the Tacoma and you go and you can pretty much be self-sustained for the weekend, right? Like, I love that idea as well.
Yeah. So definitely another aspect that kind of has a lot of crossover with preparedness. So you can kind of put your stuff into kits. I call it a camping bin, but you want to call it a go bin or something, something more preparedness oriented you can. So it has a similar concept to like a bug out bag or something like that, where it's just like, it's something that I want to be able to just grab and go. Whereas a bug out bag is like an emergency. I really need to get out of here. A camping bin is like, hey, it's 5 p.m. on a Friday. I'd really like to go, but I don't want to spend an hour getting ready because then it's going to, I have this bin that already has all the stuff I need. I just grab it and I go. So a lot of concepts carry over between kind of being prepared and, having a good overland setup.
That's like 90% of the reason why I don't go camping enough. Yeah. It's because it's like,
it's a
I
pain
gotta
in
pull
the
all
ass.
this stuff together. My kids have taken all the flashlights out of this. And then, just like, having it all ready to go to just throw in is such a good idea. And it's good for bugging out too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are huge with gear. Like like half of your videos are about gear, and I love it because we're gear whores too. We love that kind of stuff. And obviously, that the preparedness is a big thing on your channel. So I wanted to throw out this question just to kind of see what you would say and kind of just get a discussion going. So if you knew for some reason in the next few hours, some sort of an SHTF emergency event was going to hit, like it was going to go, and you could only pick 5 pieces of gear. I don't know why this is happening, but you can only pick 5. I just want to kind of hear what your pick would be for 5 to sustain you for the next 72 hours, say.
Yeah, that's tough because I like to think myself a man that has those 5 pieces of gear already. So
Yeah.
I would be good. And that, that's kind of the end goal of preparedness to say, oh, if a disaster happens, I'm not rushing to get something I haven't got yet.
Exactly.
But depending on where you are in the preparedness journey, you might not be at that place yet. So my answer now would be different than my answer 5 years ago, probably because I have most of this stuff. But I'll try and do I'll try and do a combination, like assuming I don't have quite everything, but I'm a little bit prepared maybe. I would, some of these are harder to get. So it depends on where you live and what connections you have and whatnot. But I would try to stock up on this one's not relevant to me, but it's very important for people. If you have medical need, if you have a kid on insulin or something like that, that's one of the most important things to try and stock up on. Yeah. Because a lot of these disasters, you don't know if they're going to be a few days or a month or years. So yeah, medications or antibiotics, super important because that's something that is very hard to DIY.
And that's the hard thing
so
is
I would say,
last minute too, trying to do that is so difficult, right?
Yeah. And this is good. This is good for people to think about, right? They're like, oh, well, last minute it'd be great, but you can't actually get this stuff last minute. So this is something that I need to put on top of the list of preparedness. But if you're like, well, I'm getting low on insulin, but I can get a refill, within this window, and I'm in that window, so let me just go and so I'll have a couple extras. So I would do something like that. Yeah, again, that one I think is very important, but not actually relevant to me. So it's kind of a cheater one. I would probably try and get as many propane tanks as I could. Nice. Because you gotta, in a survival situation, I have a lot of ways to cook. I got wood burning stuff and this and that. But propane is so stupid easy, and I have all these propane appliances and all these propane camping stoves, and I do stockpile a little bit of propane, honestly. But I would get propane just because it makes boiling water so easy. It'll make cooking so easy. It'll make a lot of your daily routine a lot easier. And again, obviously, if you get a few propane tanks, it's not going to last you a decade. But if it's just a 2-week disaster or something, that'll make your life way easier. So probably propane.
All those indoor uses too.
It's like you can keep yourself warm, a little Mr. Buddy heater or something like that. There's no power or whatever. You can keep yourself warm if you need to. Plus, you can cook. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I guess you can propane and or fuel, like diesel or gas. We'll just kind of put those into one. The other would be food, man. I would just get as much extra food as I have because I have some food stores, but it's a lot of it is rice and beans, and a lot of it is stuff that I don't necessarily want to eat.
Longer term stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll survive off of it, and I'll add some spices and make it work. But I would rather have as much good food as possible, like as much as I could possibly get.
Right.
So probably I would just stock up on a bunch of food that's relatively good and relatively easy to make, I think.
Yeah, I like that. You can't go wrong with food, man. Like, you really can't. Like, you got to eat.
Yeah, we was talking about topping those things off. Yeah. It's like you have that other stuff you don't want to tap into, so it's like go get the good stuff.
Yeah,
as much.
Yeah, exactly. And I dig into my survival stash one just for fun, just make sure I can do it, make sure it works, right? But I try not to. It's like, oh yeah, we have a power outage. I'm not going to reach straight for, let's break into the prepper pantry. I'm like, nah, I'll get a can of Campbell's off the shelf or something like that. So yeah, probably food. And then I think another one then would be power, a way to power stuff. I talk about it on the channel a lot. I have a lot of battery backups. I have a lot of solar panels. This is one thing that I already have, so I wouldn't be out trying to buy something. But if you have flashlights that need charging, if you have cell phones or you have computers or you have a CPAP or something like that, you're going to have a lot of better time in a grid down type scenario if you can use some electronics. So if you don't have a way to charge, maybe a generator instead of a battery backup, but I really like a battery backup and a solar panel because you kind of have indefinite power.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have a ton of power. Maybe it's a small battery thing, but you can charge your flashlights for the next 10 years or whatever. So I think power is another really good one that someone could try and get on the way home. And they sell some of these power, so, maybe Costco is a great stop on the way home. You and everyone else is stopping at Costco, because
exactly,
most of these things could be found there. Because I think they're selling like power supplies and stuff now as well. And some pretty good ones.
Sells quite a few now. Jackery and EcoFlow, and it's just kind of crazy. I love those.
Yeah,
things. It's like they're so nice. They make camping so much more comfortable.
Well, and then you got,
camping,
for
an
SHTF situation, we talk about so often how communication is so important, and you got it. Your number one communication device is your phone, right? You have to keep that rolling somehow. You have to keep that charged, and these types of devices are a great way to do that too.
Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know. It's hard because I have all these things. I would get a gun. If you don't have a gun, I would get a gun. We'll just kind of put that as I hope you have it or several already and you know how to use it. So I'm not even going to really put it on the list, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm like, well, if you don't have one, that's a good thing to have. But I'll say the fifth thing would be everything related to water. So I talk about this on the channel as well. You can store a bunch of water, but you're not gonna nobody's house is big enough to store as much water as they need. So really, you need a way to procure water and you need a way to purify water. These are two very, very important. If you have a toilet and you have water, you can keep using your toilet for a while, maybe indefinitely, depending on your setup, sewer versus septic, all that kind of stuff. But you're going to be able to flush that toilet for a while. So being able to find water and being able to use the water. So I would say we'll just kind of wrap the fifth thing into water. If you have a gutter on your house, you can get water depending on where you live if it rains. If you're near a stream, if you're near a lake, if you're near a spring, if you have a pool in the backyard, you have all these water sources that have a ton of water, but you need to be able to get that water and then use it. So most people have a bucket or something, but if you didn't have a bucket, you need a way to get water and needed to move water, and then a water filter because you're going to want to drink it. You can boil water, you can make your own filter. Well, you can do all this kind of stuff, but why not just buy a nice filter that will make all that stuff easier? So I would say, and water, people will argue with you till they're blue in the face what's the most important thing, but water absolutely is the most important thing in any survival scenario. Water. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, those are all perfect.
Great answers. I love it. This is kind of a bonus to that. I saw recently you had a kid, and that sort of changes your view on a whole host of things. But preparedness, for sure, sort of it makes you think a little deeper about it. So has that changed the way that you look at preparedness, or has it at all? Maybe you're still doing the same old thing.
A little bit. It's kind of, this will get off on a tangent as I often do if you watch my videos. But preparedness with a kid is kind of throws a new dynamic into it, I guess. I don't think it's vastly more difficult, especially, if your wife is breastfeeding. She's kind of your own preparedness food machine there. Ashley had some trouble with breastfeeding, so we're kind of on formula now. So I stockpile formula. I have more formula than we need.
Yeah.
That's one of the main things. Ashley and I... Yeah, it goes fast. So I have some stores of the really cheap stuff, just that is emergency, and then I have just extra of what we use, which is a great concept for general preparedness. You always just have a little extra. You use a protein powder all the time rather than just having enough on hand. Get two more. That lasts for 2 or 3, many more years. But I'm a big proponent of having more than you. Stuff that you're going to use that doesn't expire immediately, have a lot more than you need. It's the easiest way to start preparing. But so kind of formula, but a more, theological, philosophical thing that I've been talking about with Ashley. Actually, funny enough, we were just talking about last night. I was, a prepper. So you're always what could I beef up in my preparedness stash. So I was kind of buying a few random things, and I was talking to Ashley about, if we wanted to have another kid, and what if that happened, when the grid was dead. Like, what do we need to like have a baby? Like, just deliver a baby and like have a newborn and do all this stuff. So we were kind of thinking through the process of not even just like having a baby, like already having a baby, but having to give birth in a grid down scenario, which is kind of a whole new thing. So I was like, you know, kind of up
So you
late.
set up an appointment for a vasectomy? Is that what happened?
Well, probably I will be eventually, yeah. But so we were kind of like working through some of that, and then just some of the basics. Like we have diapers that we use, you know, buy big bulk Huggies or whatever, and we're like, well, we should probably have a stash of like cloth diapers, like stuff like that. But I mean, I think a lot of people overcomplicate it. And I get this a lot. Like ever since I have a kid, people know I'm a prepper. They're like very curious, like how my preparedness has changed with the baby. And I think most people who have had kids, and I'm not like a professional dad, right? Like I haven't had 8 kids and I haven't been having kids for 100 years. I'm not a pro at it or anything like that. But from what little I know is like kids are a lot more resilient than you think before you have them.
Sure.
So it doesn't change a whole lot. You just need some food for them because their dietary restrictions are different than an adult. So if you have their food, that's pretty much all you need. Assuming the kid isn't on any kind of medical device or anything like that. So I think it's a lot easier than people. Like, I don't think like a prepper's like, oh, I can't have a kid. That's going to add too much more to my thing. No, man. Like
that's
after
what all
a few
preppers
years,
sound like too. Every single one. Of them.
Oh, they do. Yeah. No, after a few years, this kid's going to be an asset, man. He's going to be the one fetching water. He's going to be the one, you know, on guard duty. And I was kind of thinking about it again. I hope you're fine with the tangent. But I was like, okay, at what age is he like, all right, I'm going to drive the Tundra and you're going to drive the Tacoma and we're bugging out? Is that like 6-year-old trying to do that kind of stuff? So I was kind of having,
I understand that.
I was kind of having some fun with that. But yeah, I think food again, food, and if you have water already, but yeah, food specific to the baby is important. And then if you want to go a little extreme, maybe like upsize clothes to get him some durable clothes and shoe sizes that he can eventually grow into through the years. Because it's really hard to make a good pair of boots, right? You could do it. You can make some. You can make some moccasins or something.
Ooh, moccasins. Yeah.
It is funny though.
But like
people do like assume that they're like caring for this little alien that doesn't eat food and has all these rare like specific needs. It's like it's a human baby.
Yeah.
Like the milk thing is a little bit more complicated, but beyond that, they're gonna need what you need.
Yeah. I think people overcomplicate it a little bit. The only thing as it pertains to, I talk a lot about prepared daily driver, like we mentioned earlier, or get home bag, stuff like that. I think the only real difference is like, you maybe carry a couple extra diapers and a little bit of food. And then this is another one I thought of last night when I was getting into the whole kind of, well, what extra things do we have to prepare for with a baby? And one thing I never thought of is if EMP hits or whatever, and you guys had that guy that was like an EMP professional a while back, and knows way more than I would ever know. But from what I've researched and reading some of the EMP Commission kind of stuff, a lot of vehicles will still work after an EMP.
Yeah.
Like a lot of even modern vehicles. I'm not even talking about like old carbureted vehicles. The studies have shown that a lot of modern vehicles are shielded enough that a lot of them, maybe they'll shut off, but a lot of times they'll start back up, or maybe they won't even shut off. So a lot of times this is another. Sorry, I'll get back to the point. This is a little bit of a tangent, but prepared daily driver. You're just assume even in an EMP, your truck is still gonna go.
Right.
And you're in the city, you're at work, or you're at a pumpkin patch, you're doing something 20 miles from home. It's going to be way better to drive home. So have a vehicle that will be able to huck it through the ditches and around back road, through people's front yards, through alleys, prepared daily driver, it's dope. But if you can't, the only thing that was kind of missing in my like daily driver get home bag kit was really a good way to carry my kit. So like we have like baby carriers and harnesses and tactical baby gear holder, all this kind of stuff. But I don't have anything that I keep dedicated in my car to carry the baby around. I'll bring it if we're going to go on a hike, or I'll bring it if we're going somewhere else, or we'll bring like a wagon if we're going to go to the zoo, or a stroller. But I don't keep just like a good way. And
that's a really good point.
People will be like, oh, don't be a pussy, just carry him. Yeah, whatever. But
you need your arms.
It gets tiring after a while.
Yeah.
Look, man, all you need is duct tape. I guarantee you got some duct tape in there.
You could, yeah. Or just, I rigged something up from an extra jacket or whatever. But I'm like, I'll just buy a cheap extra $10 China baby carrier and throw it in the back, So I was like, that was actually one gap that I hadn't thought of when people are. And this is one thing on the YouTube channel. People will ask me like, "Oh, what extra preparedness things do you need with a baby?" And I think, okay, this would be a good video concept, right? Like I have a kid, I'm into preparedness. A lot of people are asking me this question. Let me think. My immediate answer is like, "Oh, you don't need much, man." But that doesn't make a very good video, right?
Video,
so,
yeah.
So I'm like, what could I add? So I just have been trying hard to think, and I don't want to give people worthless information. I don't want to make a video just to make a video. Right. I don't want to tell you to buy crap just to buy crap. Like that's not me. So I'm like, what could I add? So then like in this journey, I was like, oh yeah, extra baby carrier actually would be a pretty good thing. Like pretty cheap, good extra thing. If I had to ruck home with a 25-pound baby, that would make my life much easier.
Heck yeah.
But, yeah.
No, that's awesome, man.
I mean, think about that. Yeah,
I think for me, like just when I think about the kids and preparedness, it just makes me more serious about the concept of being prepared, because I just feel like there's so much more pressure, right? Like, I'm taking care of this human, and I have to make sure that if something happens, they have food, they have water, or milk, or whatever. So, like for me, that's the whole thing. It just makes me think about everything to another level, because, like for me, like I don't care, I'll get through something, or if I don't, whatever. But when you have a family, it sure does change the way that you look at that.
Absolutely, like across the board for everything, but preparedness. Yeah. Especially, you see these preppers, and I don't understand. Everyone's different. I'm not going to judge or talk crap about this person or that person. But you see a prepper that's just like a single dude living at home by themselves. Yeah, I'm like, what is the point?
I know.
Just like,
thank you. Yes,
we have this joke. My wife is very supportive of my preparedness journey, fortunately, but she doesn't care too much. She does a little bit. She's like, it would really be nice to have a big DVD collection in the end of the world. Like she gets involved a little bit, but in general, she's just like, that's your thing. You do you. And we even have this joke where she's like, if it's zombies, I don't even want to live in that world.
Dude, we just talked about that recently.
I just want to.
Yeah.
I just want to off myself. So and then I have a couple preparedness couple friends that are kind of preppers, and we talk about it. And now we coined the term Ash Prep. Ash is my wife's name. And she's like, oh yeah, Ash Prep is just that's all she needs to prep with. And I'm like, if I was a single dude, had nothing to live for, no family, that's the best one bullet.
Yeah.
Like done. That's the easiest preparedness you could do. I'm not
dude.
I don't want this to get dark.
That's so funny. Get dark. My wife is named Ashley as well, and she said the exact same thing. She's like, if it gets bad, I'm done. I don't want to be there. I don't want to deal with it. I just want to be finished. And I'm like, really? Like, there's no will to live anywhere in this?
I can't comprehend it myself, but my wife's the same way. She's like, I will live for the sake of my children. Yeah. But if they died or something, I'm good. Like I've had a good life, and let's end it. And I'm like, I will survive till the very end. But to your point, the whole meaning of the whole purpose of me surviving is so that I can allow my family to survive.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think the preparedness journey becomes, and really this was me for self-defense, for getting my concealed carry, to really learning how to manipulate a firearm, really learning tactic and scenarios, and how to kill anyone. Right. That's what I wanted to learn, is just like how I can kill anyone for the sake of defending the people that I love. So I kind of took it earlier as a self-defense journey. that evolved more into a general preparedness journey. So it was, how can I keep my family safe from an immediate threat, which a firearm is the best tool that you can use to keep them safe from other guys with guns or knives or a bomb vest or whatever, a gun. That's it. There's no argument. And then that went into, well, how can I keep my family safe from everything?
Away from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can.
Yeah, and a part of that, my journey was, buy 15 acres out in the mountains and try to build a little homestead. So,
man, I'm jealous.
It's beautiful.
We're towards the.
It's beautiful.
it's been a decade long journey, but we're kind of at the somewhat of the culmination of that.
Yeah, it's so awesome, man. Yeah, if you guys haven't watched his videos, oh my gosh, it makes you jealous, but it's a beautiful thing. I love seeing it. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's what's on all of our minds of eventually having, maybe. Probably won't happen. I'm in the subdivision and probably going to be there the rest of my life, but
that's all right.
There's different aspects to that, right?
For sure. Yeah, I think, and I kind of think about this sometimes. Like, I just went all in. I was like, I'm going to do whatever I need to in my life to make this happen. Like, it's a priority for me, and not to poo-poo anyone else and say like, oh, it's just not a big enough priority for you. Like, I understand. Like, everyone has different everyone has different needs. Everyone has different jobs. Everyone lives in different places, and everyone doesn't even want the same thing. Like, I had a guy. Actually, my neighbor was out of town, but he was getting a delivery, and there was a big box truck, and he called me. He's like, this guy can't figure it out. So I went out, helped him. This old grumpy man, he's the kind of guy that just wakes up and is mad at the world.
Yeah.
He comes in, and there was snow on the ground. He was in a big box truck, like he couldn't get traction. I was kind of helping him with some max tracks and stuff, getting to where he needed to go. And he got out of the truck. And this was a sentiment that I almost never hear. When I have friends or people or like the UPS driver, he's like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, I would love to live here. And I'm so used to that mentality. Like, I hear it all the time. I agree with it. Yeah, it's great. I love it. This guy was like, I don't know why anyone would want to live up here. And I was just like,
he's all pissed.
Weird. That's the first, but then it kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, well, maybe not everyone
wants a lot of people that probably don't.
This. Yeah, not like I love living in the city. I love listening to taxi drivers honk their horn at 3 a.m. Like, I just love that, or I love the energy of it. So I understand that the homestead journey is not for everyone. And it's fine. Again, like, I don't judge other people. Like, if it's not for you, that's totally cool. But yeah, trying to make it work from an urban, trying to be a prepper in an urban scenario is a lot harder.
For
obviously.
sure.
It's a whole different ball game, man. Yeah, we got a buddy, the urban prepper, who that's what he does, man. And
I like that guy.
He's such a good
him.
dude, man. But yeah, I love watching his stuff because it's just a whole different way of
that's probably the majority of
approaching preparedness.
People that aren't prepared.
Yeah, he's good. He's got all the color coding and all that kind of stuff.
He's the most organized person I've ever met in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So here's another question where Kobe and I have been looking at overlanding and off-road. Communication's a big part of any prepping plan, but we figured we'd ask you. I know that you go with your buddies and stuff, off-roading and everything. What do you recommend for communication between you and, that caravan, or between, vehicles? Like a good CB radio? Do you use just regular two-way radio, FRS? Like, what would you recommend?
Yeah, you open up a whole can of worms in this one as well. The best communication tool by anyone that knows anything about communications, they're going to say ham.
Right.
That's the best. And there's different levels of ham operator certifications. It was important to me. I had a friend who's a ham nerd, and he preached at me, "Oh, you gotta get your ham." Oh. And so I studied a bit. I went and I got I'm a licensed technician, and you need that to legally be able to operate ham radio. You can operate it illegally, for sure. You can listen legally, but not transmit. But ham is the best. But to your question specifically, if you're talking about like overland travel and going out with friends and stuff, I have not been able to get some of my friends to go get their ham certification. So I can't legally talk to them on ham. So I have ham. I have a ham radio in my truck. I think ham is great. I'm not a ham nerd. I don't know much about it, honestly. I know just enough to get my license. I have a couple books lying around, so when the end of the world comes, I'll figure it out, man.
Yeah.
And ham is super powerful if you have especially a higher wattage, bigger antenna, like home setup. Ham in general, you can just get a lot more range out of.
Exactly.
There's restrictions to all other, there's like 2 watt restrictions or 5 watt restrictions depending on what radio frequency you're talking about. And the wattage will dictate range to some extent. So with a ham, you can get a big antenna, you can get a lot of wattage. You can also operate, depending on your license, on different frequencies, and I don't know how much you know about, and again, I don't know much. I'm not a ham pro, but
Nothing.
depending on the frequencies, the wavelengths, some are, shorter, they can penetrate through things easier. Some are longer and they bounce. So like certain frequencies, you bounce them off the upper atmosphere and you talk to South America or whatever. So ham has all kinds of crazy. It's the best, by far, better than everything else. But for overland travel, you just get a two-way FRS, or GMRS is probably the best. You get a little license. I think it's $50 or something. Lasts for 5 years, covers your household. So I would say invest in GMRS. Radio. Okay. Is probably the best next step down from ham. A much lower barrier to entry. Most of my friends will have GMRS radios now. You can get kind of hard-mounted car units with a bigger hard-mounted antenna, or you can just use handhelds. But a lot of times, if you're just caravanning, we use it, and it's. I'm glad you brought it up. Because if you have friends and if you're going to take on this like overlanding camping journey, you're going to go on trails or whatever, having radios makes it twice as fun probably.
Yeah.
Like probably twice, like literally for me anyway. I'm as you can tell, kind of a social creature, I guess. So talking, you see that moose on the side, or like, just something else comes up.
Not in the same vehicle.
What's your tire pressure at? Stuff like that. So I think it's great. And yeah, I would say for most people, GMRS is the way to go. You can buy them in 2-packs, and it's just it's much easier to get into that, and kind of will cover your bases for vehicular travel.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Man,
I love that.
That's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. One extra little question is, can you explain to my wife why it needs to be a Toyota to bring that excitement of overlanding and camping and all of that? I guess, what more exciting things do you find with doing what you do, not just for like bugging out and preparedness and all that? Like, do you guys enjoy it, and do you feel like a good off-road vehicle is worth it?
Yeah, multifaceted question. I'm a Toyota fan. I don't get paid by Toyota or anything like that. But for those that don't know, but are maybe car nerds, like I have a 1984 Toyota Land Cruiser. That's an FJ60. I have a 97 Land Cruiser. That's a 80 series. It's a 40th anniversary. I have a Tacoma, 3rd gen Tacoma 2016. I have a 2022 Tundra. Ashley drives a Toyota RAV4, and I have my latest project is a 2008 Lexus. If you don't know, Lexus is Toyota. They're the same company basically. So I have a Lexus LX570, which is identical to a 200 series Toyota Land Cruiser. So in the Toyota world, the Land Cruiser is kind of like, ooh, the Land Cruiser. I want to get a Land Cruiser. And it really is like the ultimate.
Did you still have the ultimate, or is that gone?
It's recently gone.
Oh, okay.
Sequoia is great too. Nothing to get, like, I love the Sequoia, but I had an LX570, which is a 200 series Land Cruiser. I sold because it was kind of too nice, and I sold it to get the Sequoia, kind of a beater Sequoia, and the Sequoia worked great. I probably should have kept the Sequoia, probably better for how you just beat it up and not care, and it just runs and it just goes and it's just great. But I missed the LX570 so much that I actually sold the Sequoia and got a LX570 again. And it's just a tank. It's awesome. And that's against part of the family thing. I'm just like, when we're rolling deep, when we're rolling whole family deep, I just want to I just want the Land Cruiser, just like. So that's kind of that. But Toyotas are legendarily reliable. They're used everywhere, every third world country. You go out into the most distant village that you can get through where no mate. That's a Toyota
there, yeah.
driving that thing. So they're legendarily reliable. And then there's like a community aspect of it too. You go out, if you go out on a trail, you'll see kind of like Jeep people together, and then you'll see like Toyota people together a lot of times, and you kind of like become part of this community, which, as every community can be toxic at times, but for the most part is pretty good. Like the Toyota community for the most part is pretty good. And if you get like a Tacoma or a 4Runner, some of the more mainstream vehicles, the aftermarket support is huge. Mm-hmm. You get a million bumpers, a million lift kits, a million roof rack. Like
it's overwhelming.
So you can get everything. Yeah. So if you get something like more obscure, which might be a great, Chevy Colorado or something like that, you're going to have way less aftermarket support. It is almost unanimously going to be less reliable as well over the long term. So if you're like, I want to buy, end of the world's going to happen, and I'm going to be driving this Toyota for the next 10 years with no dealer servicing, a Toyota is going to be a better bet for that as well. So yeah, that's kind of my little Toyota spiel.
We're going to clip that and send it to your wife. See how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll take my royalty checks now, Toyota. No,
exactly. We'll do whatever we need to.
The other aspect, do you enjoy the kind of the camping and everything? Fortunately, my wife loves the outdoors. Actually, she loves to hike. When she hasn't camped in a while, we actually haven't camped much over this last year with a new baby and building a house and moving. So she's actually been missing it, but she loves it. And Cooper, he's just a baby. He loves it too. He just is very interested in there's big trees around and we're crawling around in the dirt. And I would love to imbue that into him and future children moving forward, just the love for the outdoors. Because there is something, it's a pretty common thing that people that go out on weekend camping adventures, it recharges their batteries or whatever, some sentiment related to that, just getting out of your normal routine, and I think there's a lot of literal scientific evidence, studies and whatnot, showing when people spend more time in nature, there's many psychological benefits, but health benefits as well of just being out there. So you tell your wives, listen, we care about health.
Yeah, it's
right?
about you.
Yeah.
We care about mental health and physical health, and so we got to get out into nature more.
Yeah. I feel like that gives us the opportunity to do that more. So just thought I would just drive that home.
I'm crossing my fingers for you, buddy. It really is crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, now we have 2 more questions for you, and these are 2 questions that we ask every single guest that comes on the show. They're very, very important, so I want you to take your time with these, Mike. All right. Question number 4. What conspiracy theory do you find the most interesting or entertaining, and why is that? Yeah, man.
I mean, so many routes you could take on this one, right? I'll say there's 2. Okay. 2. And then you can choose which tangent we go off of, I guess, after that. But one is aliens. I've always been
it's a good one.
Alien, I mean, it's
classic.
Alien. Everything about aliens. And then the other is probably a little darker maybe, but the Illuminati and just the general behind the scenes control of everything, economy, world, politics, all that stuff. And I think both of those probably at this point are less conspiracy and more real, but those are probably
one
the 2
and the same.
Yeah.
It could be.
You know what I mean?
Could be for sure.
Yeah.
But those are probably the 2 that are most interesting to me.
Aliens to me have always been number 1. I don't know how you find anything more fun, interesting than aliens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Exciting.
Yeah. It's fun to think about, ancient aliens, modern future aliens, how much have they impacted our civilization, our technology, what's going on in the universe, man. The universe is a big place.
Yeah.
What's going on out there?
I know. We all want to know. So it's like
we get asked quite frequently. It's like, hey, if you had to choose some sort of an apocalyptic event to come down and befall
it's
us,
always
what would it be? I'm like, it's aliens. I want aliens to come and do whatever they're gonna do. I want them to come
I
and do it.
need to know and I need to see it. Yeah.
That's the tough one for me though. Like for me, like I've gotten myself to a point through whatever training and weapons and whatnot to where like I can handle pretty much any other threat.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'm talking nature. I'm talking riots. I'm talking like intruders. I'm talking roaming marauders. Like I'm pretty dialed for most things. Like it would take like a team of dedicated, well-trained guys to take me out.
Right.
Aliens, I don't know. I don't freaking know, man. Like I don't think I could do much.
Ashley's plan.
One tractor beam, one mind.
Yeah, maybe it's ash prep. Yeah, maybe ash prep. I don't know. Could be. Could be.
Aliens,
but yeah,
man.
aliens are super fun. Yeah, like and
Those two
the
are
other
great.
thing.
Yeah.
To come back to camping. Just bring it all back to camping and overlanding.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting around the campfire is kind of like a podcast. I have a couple of friends I go out with. Talon Sai. He's got another YouTube guy. One of the guys I go camping with a lot just because we kind of have similar schedules. We don't have a schedule. So we go out and every time we're out camping, we're like, this should be a podcast.
Yeah.
Just because of the stuff we talk about.
It's true.
And at least half the time it comes back to aliens. Like it's so fun. It's so fun to talk about.
Well, I think, you're out there by the campfire, you're looking up, you're
stars are
seeing the
super
stars.
bright.
It's every time Cam and I go too, it's like
You can hear stuff, but you can't see it.
yeah. It's weird how it opens up conversation, just a campfire and a couple of guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The fire is like the world's greatest therapist.
It
like
is.
you just stare at it and all this like deep thought comes out.
A tale and tool as old as time.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I'm glad Aliens is your favorite because it's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Brothers
It's
in
fun to
arms
think
there.
about.
Last question. Again, very, very important for everybody to know, for me to know for sure. What is your favorite movie of all time and why?
Tells a lot about you.
It does. This will inform
this
a lot
is-
of things here.
This is tough. There's no way I could choose just one. Like, there's no way I could
I know.
choose just one. Because I have a large swath of movies that I love. I love the epics, the Lord of the Rings, the Matrix trilogies. Like I love those things too. I love Step Brothers. Whatever. I love comedies. I love the doom and gloom too. But probably one of my favorite movies is probably this documentary called Idiocracy. Not actually a
classic
documentary, but it's kind of turning into a documentary. It's hilarious and it's so true. And then other movies I like are kind of like post-apocalyptic movies naturally. So like I Am Legend is one that I like a lot.
Yeah, I like that one
Something
too.
about that movie, I like it. Or like the Book of Eli.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I like that book. That was a good one. That was actually the first, maybe not the first, but one of the first like get home bags I made was inspired by that movie because it was largely around his backpack. He had this backpack.
Yep.
That's true.
He was cruising around the country. He had this backpack. It had all his gear in it. And he was like, it was like his bug out bag. It was like his go bag. And to the point where I was like, what backpack is that? I found the model of the backpack. I bought that model of backpack. It was an Oakley backpack.
Oh, my gosh.
And I actually found it in multicam even.
Oh, my gosh.
And I built it's probably it's on my channel. I built my get home bag out of the Book of Eli
That's awesome.
backpack.
That's pretty sweet.
And even more interesting, actually, I'm thinking about it, just yesterday, I saw an Instagram post, like my Instagram feed, my doom scrolling is filled with a lot of random crap.
Yeah.
Like from working out to preparedness to cars to trucks to fast cars, everything in between. And then I saw this one and it was, I don't dig too much into the powers it be using movies to tell us really what there's a big, there's huge following of people that are like,
We have a lot of questions about that lately.
yeah, I don't get into that too much. But there was one and it was the Book of Eli and there was a poster on the wall and the year on the poster was 2024.
Really?
So yeah, I thought that was
We haven't
interesting.
talked about.
Yeah.
We need to go into that.
Yeah. Those are great movies,
But yeah, I don't
though,
know.
man. Yeah,
Yeah, not a great
Idiocracy.
answer though. Maybe.
Idiocracy, that is like predictive programming a bit, isn't it? Jeez. That was Dax Shepard,
Yeah.
right? Was it Dax was the dude in that?
Dax was
Yeah.
like the lawyer guy. And then what's his name? Luke Wilson.
Yeah, Luke Wilson.
That's
was
right. Yeah.
kind of the main guy.
Oh, man.
But so good, so good. I see, TikTok and whatnot turning us into that generation
no
pretty
kidding.
quick.
I agree.
think. Yeah.
Well,
So that's a good one.
is
But I like a lot of movies.
Predictive programming for sure.
beautiful answers. I love them.
Yeah.
And you've been a joy to have on the show. You've been wonderful. Appreciate you.
It was a lot of
I
fun.
will let you know
appreciate
how
you guys having me
successful
on.
you were for my future plans with my wife and buying a truck. So thank you.
Hey, I hope it.
Me
I hope
too.
it helps, man.
Me too.
Yeah, it's all like very logical,
Yeah.
very concrete. Like
Yeah.
it will improve your life.
Facts, figures, numbers,
I-
all that kind
yeah.
of stuff is involved, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll make happiness will go up.
Yeah.
Preparedness up. Ability to get home in adverse scenarios goes up. Mental health, it goes up.
Relationship.
There's no
has
no
been
negatives.
said. So
No negatives.
Older.
Yeah.
Can you please tell everybody listening where they can find all your stuff?
Yeah, so probably I'm primarily a YouTube guy. So I'm just Last Line of Defense on YouTube, and Instagram's probably my next thing. Last Line of Defense as well on Instagram. I do have a small holster company. I sell concealed carry holsters, and that's
right.
just at LLOD.us.
Nice.
thank you.
Yeah, go subscribe. One of the best YouTube channels on the face of the planet.
It really is.
It's
Really
good.
super fun to watch your
Yeah,
videos. So
I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely.
Man.
Thanks
You
for
should have
coming
me
on.
back on. Need this little.
Anytime
Yeah.
you want to
boost.
come back, please let us know. We'd love to have you. And just one last thing. Stay survived, buddy.
Stay survived.
Stay survived.